we saw Jadine very early yesterday and really has run the table since then.
Yeah, we saw Jadine just miss outright on 2 collected companies on camera. Pretty unfortunate outing for the deck. We'll see if she can put it together here. I think this is kind of a tough matchup for the Banned Company deck.
You'll see she starts off on Evolving Wilds, players trading some lands. And for all the Banned Company on day 2, right, 30 copies of it. That's huge. It's a third of the field by itself. That's not even counting Banned Humans, which is another 10% of the field. It's not actually the decks at the top of the standings. And I don't know whether that's because the best players, a lot of the top players are on Emerge, or whether it's because Emerge is just simply great. Maybe it's both.
I think it's some combination of both of those things. And we do see some of our better Banned Company pilots, Jadine and Devin Kepke, near the top of the standings with the deck.
Gather the pack from Frank Skarren, and the pack is, well, either a Haunted Dead or nothing. We've seen him gather for 0 before with this deck.
Yep, Haunted Dead, often the kind of card you just want to have in your graveyard. If he has some Amalgams in hand already to discard, I could totally see binning it. It's not the most unreasonable card to just spend 4 mana on.
For Jadine, no 2-drop. She started the game on a pair of Evolving Wilds, which she now fetches out blue and white mana with them.
And presumably, she'll start casting spells on turn 3, though a lot of the 3-drops in the deck are sort of reactive, and the kind of spells you want to wait until turn 4 ends. So like there's a Tireless Tracker, you kind of are incentivized to wait. With Reflector Mage, there's nothing to bounce yet. With Spell Queller, you want to wait for a spell. So we could see just another pass from Jadine.
Her turn 3 will be Nissa. Vastwood Seer gets a Forest, so all 3 of her colors on basic lands. But this is, so it's fine, her deck's functioning, except that it's not really doing the powerful things I expect from Bant, right?
Yep, not just yet, though. Next turn, we'll see if she can start firing off some collected companies.
When I'm scared of this deck is when they're playing Advocate, Spell Queller, Company. Like, then you just say, boy, this deck beats everything.
She'd be able to get some chip shots in, at least one attack here if she had an Advocate, though until it gets up to be a 4-5, Skarren's deck is pretty good at interacting with Advocate. He starts making some 3-3 creatures pretty quickly.
Skarren will traverse the Ulfin Vault here. This is on his 3rd turn. He's got a Kozilek's Return in hand. Now, keep in mind, he actually just cannot cast that card. No mana-producing lands that will make that happen. He's getting another Forest. Doesn't have Delirium just yet.
And he has a Haunted Dead that we saw him put into his hand. Eventually, he'll be casting that. That is a prime candidate for chump blocking detail.
Plays a Forest. Could pass here. Sometimes they main phase their instance here if they're concerned about a card like Spell Queller. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Grapple with the past. Haunted Dead, Yavimaya Coast, Elder Deep Fiend. So he'll have creature, instant, sorcery land in the graveyard. He now does have Delirium.
Deep Fiend looks like a solid pickup here, though maybe he does need a land.
I think he needs the land. He's going to take it. Now, fortunately for him, there's another land in the graveyard, so he's maintained his Delirium. Now there's a Haunted Dead in there. We go to Jadine's 4th turn. Tireless Tracker. Forest, Clue. Swing with Nissa for 2. It's a go. It's a pretty fair game Jadine's playing right now.
Yep.
Not that that's horrible. I mean, she's ahead on the board. She's doing damage, but I can't imagine she's happy with how this game has started.
Yeah, and even though she is at 4 mana this turn, she did have an untapped land. This is not necessarily the turn she wants to start casting Collected Company. You want to wait until you know that if you find a Reflector Mage, it's going to be good. It's similar to the old Bloodbraid Elf thing, where a lot of players would just cast it as soon as they got 4 mana.
But then if they hit a Terminate and there's no creature, you'd be like, eh.
Exactly. And some patience with that spell. For as much as it is just very powerful and aggressively costed, there is some elegance to it.
Jadine, Frank, 4th land and passes for Jadine. She draws her 5th land. And this is where things get scary. So Frank has a Haunted Dead in the graveyard. And his deck does a lot of things at instant speed. It looks like he has nothing, but that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yep. Already has Haunted Dead in the graveyard. He can start up with those shenanigans. Could Haunted Dead into Deep Fiend once he has 7 mana online, or 5 mana online.
2nd Tireless Tracker from Jadine. Then a Canopy Vista brings her up to 3 clues. Maybe Frank will respond now. Haunted Dead can be taken out of the graveyard. He's discarding 2 for it. Actually, he hasn't done it yet. She was requesting a read on the card.
Yeah, likely verifying that it enters the battlefield tapped.
And here's the interesting thing. When I was playing Teamer Emerge, so a lot of times you lose to Bant because they attack you. But one of the things that I actually liked about the Bant strategy is if they had Tireless Tracker going for too long, I actually would lose the late game. Say, once they start getting into 5-clue territory, stuff like that, I couldn't close because Bant just had too many cards. And I'm wondering if the same issue is there for Sultai Emerge. Frank's going to be able to sweep this board. You see he discarded a Kozilek's Return to that Haunted Dead. But Jadine's got a lot of cards going.
Yeah, she can draw back into it. She can eventually make enough creatures or a large enough creature to just not care about the 5/6 Deep Fiend. And when you gas back up with these clues, the fact that you got an extra card off of the Nissa, finding the forest, you can rebuild from a Kozilek return or two.
Yeah, when Bant gets up to 8 lands in play and still has 7 cards, they're really scary. There's Duskwatch Recruiter becomes an issue. Collected Company's always an issue. Just every card's still good. Their creatures are good.
And the strength of Skarren's deck is that he can also rebuild from the Kozilek's Return. The thing is, his stuff has very set values. He's getting a bunch of 3/3s, 2/2s, and 1/1 tokens. And that's generally going to be weaker than Jadine having actual cards.
So here we go. So Jadine cracked a clue on the unstep. Frank is using Elder Deep Fiend on Jadine's upkeep. Emerging out of Haunted Dead. There is a Kozilek's Return in the graveyard, but he's going to try to tap her out first and then decide if he wants to use it. Of note, Frank didn't use the Yavimaya Coast to cast Deep Fiend. He used his Sunken Hollow, which means he doesn't have the mana to bring back Haunted Dead again.
True. Chose the pain-free source, so it does limit his options here.
Jadine, in response to those mana, those taps, she's going to crack a clue. Looks like crack another clue. If she could get one more, this would be excellent. The trackers have 5 toughness right now, but not quite. Kozilek's Return will mop up the creatures. But Jadine's got a full grip.
And this does suggest that she probably does not already have Collected Company in hand.
Would think might have tried to find a Selfless Spirit there.
Right. Or just wait until it resolved and just put some creatures on the battlefield.
Sure, just play those cards. She plays an island for the turn, but passes. 2 blue mana, doesn't cast much. Basic Island was the land that Frank left her, and he was rewarded pretty well for doing that.
Only spell that 2 lands can generally get you is Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and that's not in Jadine's deck. She is only playing the 2 Dromoka's Command, so Jace a little less good in her build. Naturally, it got cut.
Yeah, good play there by Frank, picking which land to leave her with. If he leaves her with Plains, she might cast a Selfless Spirit, for example.
Leaves her with Forest, there's Duskwatch Recruiter, Sylvan Advocate.
So you go to Frank. A swing for 5 from Elder Deep Fiend will put Jadine to 15. Now, I like this part about Bant where they get into late game fights. They can win them, which is just ridiculous.
Yes.
Vessel of Nascency for Skarren. 4 mana just to cast Haunted Dead. Token says go. Keep in mind, in game 1, Jadine has 2 Dromoka's Commands in her deck. The fact that Frank plays out a Vessel with no mana, I mean, does represent some sort of vulnerability.
Yeah, she could Dromoka's Command, force him to sacrifice that. One thing about Skarren's position, he really wants to find some more prized amalgam so he can get on the table in a more significant way. And if Jadine just blows up that Vessel, that is going to hinder his game plan.
Plains from Jadine, it's her 7th land. Eyes Reflector Mage in hand. Here's 3 mana, and the Mage will bounce Haunted Dead to Frank's hand. She will just pass. Or at least presume it. She has left up 4.
She just did crack those 2 clues that had a couple draw steps. By now, she could have a Collected Company.
Yeah, she has so many cards. It's just, if she doesn't have a good play here, that's so unlikely.
Yeah, she's either up to something or her hand is just 6 lands.
Yeah. Well, we go over to Frank. He has a Haunted Dead in the graveyard. Remember, he can't cast those, they've been reflected. He can get it out of the graveyard, though. Vessel of Nascency will be cracked. Elder Deep Fiend is a possibility, and he doesn't have to think hard about that one. He's going to go ahead and take the Eldrazi monster.
Often a very easy pick. It's really just the best card in Skarren's deck.
I think it's the, yeah, definitely in his. I feel like it's the best card in everyone's deck. We're even seeing Bant Company play it sometimes.
True.
Yeah, Jadine has one in her main deck.
Yeah, Jerry Thompson put up a video on StarCityGames.com playing Deep Fiend in Band Company.
Swing with the Deep Fiend. It puts Jadine down to 10. And now she has to worry about that second Deep Fiend. If she gets tapped out on end step, that's 10 damage.
Yeah. So even if she has a collected company, this might be a bad winner to cast it because she wants to be able to make some more creatures.
There are no Kozilek's returns in Frank's graveyard just now. He'll pass the turn. See if he pauses her on upkeep. He does not. He'll let her draw. And she did not collect a company on end step. I'm interested. She had Dramoka's Command in hand there. I feel like there was an opportunity to get rid of the Vessel.
Mm-hmm. The other mode would have been just fight Spirit, but
Yeah,
getting rid of Vessel, I think, is significant.
It turned into a Deep Fiend,
It
right?
looks like she does have company, given that she saw the Deep Fiend get revealed. It didn't make sense to cast it there anymore.
Okay. Frank will bring back Haunted Dead. And then untap. Go back. Skarren at 14, Jadine at 10. Six lands in play for Frank Skarren. He will start. Looks like maybe Distended Mindbender. That would be a pretty solid play.
Jeez, yeah, that card is brutal.
He'll cast it, emerging out of Haunted Dead. He has double blue up, so the Deep Fiend is available as well.
Jadine has so much untapped mana, 8 untapped mana. It wouldn't make sense to be aggressive with the Deep Fiend, and given that he has the Mindbender, this line is great.
Well, if she has a company, she better use it now. It's about to get taken away. Trigger is on the stack. Jadine's seeing if she wants to use any instance before it happens.
And Jadine does have one copy of Deep Fiend in her deck as well.
Elder Deep Fiend of her own, just casting it off 8 lands, is going to be the play she chooses. She will tap the Deep Fiend, and it looks like she's going to go with the Spirits and a land.
Unable to tap the Mindbender because it has not yet resolved.
Tapping Forest there seems like the wrong choice.
Yeah, you likely want to take off one of these blue sources because she knows that Deep Fiend is there.
Right. Unless she actually just wants Frank to cast the Deep Fiend.
Also possible. Now she does have a Deep Fiend of her own and 2 Dramoka's Command.
Dramoka's Command, Queller, Dramoka's Command is the play. So if you look back to that turn, it's why she didn't use the command to get rid of the Vessel. She was holding up Spell Queller. She'll lose one of the 3 cards. Frank's choice. He'll take care of one of the Dramoka's commands. An unfortunate draw for Jadine. She only plays 2 commands main deck. I can't imagine they're going to be in her deck after sideboard. They're not particularly good here.
No. She can make her Deep Fiend the biggest Deep Fiend. Beyond that, the utility is fairly minor.
She'll untap 9 lands now. 1 command in hand. That's going to be used. Counter on Deep Fiend, and it fights Distended Mindbender.
And Skarren has the ability to just emerge his Deep Fiend here, though he won't be getting much value out of the trigger. He at least doesn't just lose the Mindbender.
Well, he can tap out Jadine's blockers, and if she doesn't have another creature, she's dead.
Mm-hmm. He already knows that she has Spell Queller, but that'll just have to be chump blocking.
That's fine. So yeah, he demerges the Deep Fiend out of the Mindbender. Jadine's 5/6 will still become a 6/7. One of the modes is going to work.
Right.
And he's targeting some creatures and lands, it looks like. She will float mana, cast Spell Queller as a 2/3. And
Ooh,
quell
I like
her own
this.
Dramoka's Command. That's really nice.
This way, she'll be able to block with the Queller and then just cast a Dromoka's Command,
Right,
make her
when it
Deep
comes
Fiend
off
larger,
Spellcaller.
yeah, and fight one of those Deep Fiends.
That's really solid. Now, one more Deep Fiend still takes it for Frank. And tap out the blockers. But it's a really good play by Jadine. Frank's got to think twice if he wants to make this swing for 10 here. Does he want to give her that free Dromoka's Command? The answer? Sure, let's do it. So, Queller has to go in front of a 5/6. Jadine will drop to 3. Queller dies. She now casts the Dromoka's Command for free. Counter on her Deep Fiend, fight away Franks. And that's going to work.
And putting Jadine down to 3 is a really strong pot for Skarren's deck. His A plan here is to make a bunch of prized amalgam. So if he's able to start milling into that, or even just these flying spirit tokens, getting in these chip shots are not terribly difficult for his deck.
Yeah, he seems to just cast a Haunted Dead, get his 3rd spirit token. She's at 3.
And she just had to throw away her only flyer.
Draw here, 2 cards. Do any of them play? No, they do not. We are on to a second game. And Frank Skarren, Sultai emerge. He was your 9-0 on day 1. Now he's up a game. He's looking to make it into that top 8. A win here, and he's hoping he can draw. He was, as you'd expect, of all the 10 threes he was at the top breakers of the bracket.
Yep. Still, if the cutoff was this round, he would have been in the top 8 despite losing 3 rounds today.
Yeah, 7th place. Jadine enters this round in 11th. So I'm going to take a look at the sideboards. We'll start here over on Jadine Klomparens' side. She's got a Rogue's Passage, 2 Tamios, 2 Gideons, a 2nd Deep Fiend, 2 Negates, 2 Linvalas, it's a card I don't see too much of, 3 News Constrictors, and 2 Ojatai's Commands.
So I like the band company idea of going bigger here. She knows that a big part of Skarren's game plan is just triggering Kozilek's return, sweeping her board. So the Tamio Fields Researcher, the Gideon ally is Zendikar. They do a lot to help that. The Elder Deep Fiend's another way to go big. I like bringing that in. It also survives Kozilek's return. That seems quite significant. You can bring in Ojatai's Command. It's not at its best in this particular Emerge matchup because Frank has a lot of smaller creatures where it can be a little awkward. But because of those small creatures, I really like Linvala the Preserver, especially because Frank is doing all this Haunted Dead stuff. Very likely you're able to at least get that 3/3 trigger, which is the more important aspect of the card.
On Frank Skarren's side, Sultai Emerge, he's got some 2-0s of his own. Ultimate Price, Collective Brutality, Transgress the Mind, To the Slaughter, Pulse of Marasa, and then his 1-ofs. A Mountain, a Guiltleaf Winnower, a Languish, an Infinite Obliteration, and a Nissa Vastwood Seer. There's not actually that much for this matchup. That might just be because Frank is pretty good as it starts.
Yeah, strategically, he seems to be generally favored. The 2 Transgress the Mind will help him catch whatever Jadine is doing to try to go a little bit bigger to fight off his game plan, so those are great. There's some argument for Collective Brutality. It has some spots where it's excellent. It has some spots where it's less good. So we'll see if that one comes in or not. If you're able to hit a turn 2 Duskwatch Recruiter, the card often looks excellent, especially if you also get a Collected Company for your troubles. The Guiltleaf Winnower is fairly solid here. There's a lot of stuff it just kills. It's like a Necrotal effect. Totally reasonable to have it here.
So we're going to get ready for game 2 here. A lot of win-ins this round in the 10-3 bracket. We're going to take a second, though, to talk about the weekly sale we have going on over at StarCityGames.com. We've had one of these each week that's been changing. So this last week, we've had the weekly sale on a lot of hundreds of singles, now at 99 cents. So these are kind of a lot of things to fill out your commander decks. Maybe some of the staples less known, harder to get cards, I guess, for modern decks. Things like Goblin Rabblemaster, Mayor of Avabrook. All those are on sale this week at 99 cents. So head over to the store to check those ones out. There's a lot of cards here that you can get. And keep in mind, we have a new sale every week. So this one ends tomorrow morning at 10:59 Eastern Time. So you're going to want to do that today, and you're going to want to stop in tomorrow to check out what the new sale of the week is.
Recently, I've gotten into cube design, so finding a good sale for filling out a lot of holes in the cube, always something I'm looking for.
I'm going to get you back to the match. There's a lot of big matches this round, so we're going to see as many of them as we can. If you look at the players in contention here, it is all players we've heard of. So Noah Walker is in, and you remember the guy who played Cedric a couple rounds ago, Gavin Schober. He's probably the newest name in here. He's also likely in, playing black-green control. But we look down the list, everyone from 3rd to 13th. Shaheen Sarani, Todd Anderson, Ted Felicetti. Ben Friedman, Frank Skarren, Ross Merriam, Devin Kepke, Danny Jessup. He won this round. Jadine Klomparens, Cedric Phillips, Brad Carpenter. This is going to be one of the best tournaments we've had in a long time.
Yeah, this top 8 is going to be stacked.
This match, a win here should be good enough for Frank Skarren. For Jadine, a win she still might have to play. A loss is probably going to knock her out of competition. Remember, she did start the tournament on a very medium record, so her tiebreakers do have taken some punishment from that.
Right. Might have to settle for a top 16, top 32 finish. She does still have a shot in this match.
Yeah. On top of that, all those points are going to matter, especially when you remember that she is at the top of the Season 3 leaderboard right now. Her runner-up finish in the Invitational gave her sole possession of that. So get ready for the second game. Jadine is going to be on the play with Bant Company. And last game, the fact that her start was Evolving Wilds, Nissa Vastwood Seer. That just seemed very punishing.
Yes, it was very slow. She also didn't have Collected Company at any point in that game.
Start on Lumbering Falls for Jadine.
Your next round pairings are being posted. Please head to the boards to find your seat. Again, Two-Headed Giant Seal Spectacular players and Modern Challenge players. Your next round
Positive players. Frank's trying to line up his mana correctly on Evolving Wilds. See if Jadine can get some early pressure, especially on the play. A 2-drop would be welcome. And that will work. Duskwatch Recruiter, it's among her best.
All right. Not exactly at its best on turn 2. This is one of the better cards for going late. We'll see if Frank brought in Collective Brutality. This is the exact window where that card would shine in this matchup.
Yeah, Collective Brutality is great. I'm also just wondering, he had a basic mountain in his sideboard. Is this kind of, I don't know if this is the kind of matchup where he actually wants to cast the front half of Kozilek's Return.
It won't kill the majority of what Jadine is up to. Theoretically, if you just want to add a land to your deck, that kind of makes sense, though most of what he's bringing in is leaner stuff.
And I like the turn 2 Traverse from Frank, stopping the flip on the Duskwatch Recruiter. The flip would be fairly bad for him if it were to happen.
Yeah. Oh, and I did see the mountain.
Okay, so he can cast it on the front side.
Digging for an island, though.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I mean, there's a lot of pressure to find mana. You see he goes for an island, or a swamp, rather.
And the deck is quite light on lands. So that's one of the things, even when you have Traverse and the option to get Mountain, you can't always safely do it.
So second swamp, that reads like a Distended Mindbender might be in his plans.
Yeah.
Jadine attacks and plays Evolving Wilds, then just no play passes. And one of the really cool parts about this is that it ramps her into something like Spellqueller.
Yep. Even with Evolving Wilds being the land for the turn, she's still able to quell any spell cast here.
Does Frank have a spell to cast? He's tapping 3 mana, going for Prized Amalgam. Does she have the Spirit? She does not. It will hit the battlefield, and she'll just crack the Evolving Wilds. It's one of those things where, you know, you say Bant doing Bant things. When you play against this matchup, you kind of just hope they don't always have the card that gets you. You know, Frank plays, it's like, yeah, I really hope you don't Spellquell this, and then Spellquell the next thing. And, you know, he goes for another spell, she'd Company into a Queller, and you just say,
well, if
you win.
You look at what Frank is doing, you know, it's likely that he just cast Prized Amalgam over Gather the Pack, because that getting quelled is whatever. And if it just doesn't get quelled, sure, I have a 3/3, you have a 3/3, this is fine.
From Jadine, looks like it's going to be a Nissa Vastwood Seer. Off 2 mana thanks to that Kralin Horde Howler.
Unfortunately, the basic forest will not allow her to continue representing Spellqueller this turn.
Plays the forest. And it looks like a Tireless Tracker will join. I mean, at some point, don't you feel like when the Amalgam resolved, we kind of knew Spellqueller was not there?
Kind of.
I know it's not that good of a target to Spellquell, but there's a certain point where you quell anything because it's just so good to do that.
We may have been there. Now, This is a spot where casting Kozilek's Return would be phenomenal.
Yeah, if he traverses for a mountain and just casts a return, it's probably game.
I believe he has the return in hand.
Swing with Prized Amalgam. Does he have another traverse? Can he make that play? Plays a swamp. No, not yet. And Languish. Okay, well, sure, that works too.
That'll do.
Brutal. Jadine loses her whole board.
That is a 1-of out of Skarren's sideboard.
And what a time for it. She will have to rebuild now. Losing a 3-for-1 there. Does not have a land. Passes. That explains the Nissel from last turn.
Yeah. This looks like a collected company, though.
You would hope.
Yeah. If it's not, this is bad. I don't know what it could be.
Yeah, nothing else really makes sense. We'll see what Frank has. He's going to go for Traverse the Ulfenvault. Jadine could company now. She hits a Spell Queller, she gets this card.
Yeah.
She'll just Spell Quell it. Well, that works too.
Yeah, that also plays.
Land from Frank. Pass. Both players still at 17 as we enter the 6th turn here from Jadine. She missed land 5. Bant Company's a deck that almost always wants every land drop it can get.
It wants them more when they start having Tireless Tracker online, but even the 5th and 6th lands you generally want. You get up to 6 lands, your Sylvan Advocates are on.
Queller hits Frank to 15. Tracker for Jadine. There's the land. It's Rogue's Passage. She'll get a clue and pass.
I do like that she brought in the Rogue's Passage here. Skarren's able to present a lot of just bad creatures that he's able to cycle through, continue to chump block, and rebuy.
Yeah, that actually seems really good. You're right.
She's able to make a giant tracker that'll punch through.
Here's Ishkana for Frank. Pass. If you check his graveyard, there's not enough card types to bring Spiderlings along.
Yeah, speaking of bad creatures.
3/5 reach.
That'll stop the Spell Queller from attacking anyway.
Not that bad. Jadine cracks the clue, puts a counter on Tireless Tracker. It's up to 4/3. If she has an Evolving Wilds, it actually can attack this turn.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't even need the Evolving Wilds, just any land should do.
Right, she'll be up to 4 toughness with just one more clue.
Another Tireless Tracker. All right, I love it when Bant plays this kind of game. Plays Prairie Stream, 2 counter clues, then reflects away the Ishkana, swings big here for 6. Frank's down to 9. You know, Jadine hasn't even played the card Collected Company.
No. So she has, if it were possible, she has exposed herself to the trigger of Kozilek's Return. I don't know if Frank is actually able to cobble that together on this turn, though.
No, it really looked like his draw just didn't make, and Jadine will even it up at 1 game apiece.
All right, moving on to game 3. I like it.
Yeah, so what would happen there? Because I know that Sultai can really set up Kozilek's Returns from nothing.
So one thing that he was missing, he only had 1 blue source on the table, and you need 3 if your plan is cast Prized Amalgam and then emerge, unless you have Distended Mindbender. So what he could potentially have cast is Amalgam Mindbender. But you need to have Kozilek's Return in your graveyard is the problem, which he didn't already have. So it would involve setup with casting a Gather the Pack into Haunted Dead, and then you
Something
still
like
have
that.
mana left over, and you have to also flip over the return.
Yeah, that's the great part, though, right? So you go Gather the Pack off 7 lands. You'd mill into a Return and a Haunted Dead. Doesn't matter what you take.
And it has to be Mindbender for the emerge creature.
Yeah, and then he brings back Haunted Dead, Mindbenders it, sweeps the board, gets the cards in hand. It's pretty. You're right, and a lot of stuff has to happen. But I think the point is like Sultai Emerge is so scary at this. You know, they could even do it off of just like end of step, right? End step, gather the pack into these cards, get the guy, emerge the guy. All of it's at instant speed.
Yep.
It's pretty neat stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some ways that his deck could hypothetically come back from that. As you see, though, he just did not have it. So we're going to get ready for Game 3. Frank is going to be on the play.
I'll tell you a bit, it's game night somewhere, and that's been true for the whole year over at StarCityGames.com. Of course, Star City Games Game Night happening at stores all over the country. It's exclusive pins and tokens given away as prizes for whatever your store's weekly event is. It's a lot of fun to play, and the prizes are pretty great. In September, we've been giving away the Bone Chewer Giant. That, of course, is a parody here of Stone Hewer Giant from Morningtide. You see the dog wielding his mighty axes, or as they are, his mighty bone axes, clubs, whatever you have. They kind of look like axes, right? They got the top part, like.
So they actually look like Greek architecture to me.
These pillars.
Yeah. That's the imagery that I get from them.
I like that they're chewed up.
Now, as for why a giant dog would be holding pillars made out of bones, well, I'll leave that to the flavor department.
All right. Next month, we'll be giving away the Hedgehog-a-Hog. This is a parody of a Tog-a-Tog, but the 1/2 Hedgehog Overlord. You see instructing its other little hedgehogs. You'll get those as a prize. And if your store signs up now, we can actually get you signed up in time for November. And this is the next one. It is the Mole Warden. So can be given away. A lot of uses for this one. First of all, you can use them instead of Soul Wardens in your deck. Second of all, it's a 2/1 Cleric for your Heliod's. I love the pin. Heliod's pretty good too. I like most of the gods in Commander-style decks.
Sure.
Of course, all that, StarCityGames.com/game night to sign up or to find a story near you.
Heliod combines very well with Soul Warden.
That's pretty great. Life gain is just the best thing you can do at the kitchen table. Everyone loves it when you just start gaining lots of life. Players with some tap lands to start. Frank will be able to play in with Jace. Evolving Wilds back for Jadine. I like how fast Sultai can flip the Jace. You know, you have something like Gather the Pack next turn, and boom, it's a Planeswalker. It's out of range of Reflector Mage.
Yep, and that was something we saw Jace kind of leave the standard format for a while when we lost the Khans here Onslaught fetch lands.
Yeah, a lot of players, right, they just couldn't flip it, and you're thinking, yeah, maybe we play it in Bant Company, but...
And it was fine there. You would get it eventually. You could flashback Collected Company, Dramoka's Command, but now you can flip Jace on turn 3 fairly reliably with these green Emerge decks.
Selfless Spirit's the turn 2 play for Jadine. Yeah, it took Emerge to get Jace back into decks. Some people still cut him, you know, for the clearly more powerful Primal Druid, but Jace doing a lot of work.
Yeah, that card's excellent. It's not quite Pilgrim's Eye, but it's a good second.
Kozilek's Return, it goes into the graveyard from Jace. Frank's setting that one up for later. And at 3 mana, he'll just cast a Prized Amalgam and pass back to Jadine.
Selfless Spirit serves a very important role for Jadine in this matchup in protecting her from the trigger of Kozilek's Return. One thing that Frank has access to and is available to him that is a big part of his game plan is the Spirit tokens that Haunted Dead makes. So we see the Selfless Spirit giving a chip shot in here, though Frank's deck is very good at stopping that down the road.
A swing for 2 from Jadine knocks Frank to 18. She had an interesting choice. Her last 2 lands were Lumbering Falls and Prairie Stream. So she either could have a turn 3 Reflector Mage or a turn 4 Collected Company, but not both. She chose the Mage to put the Jace back into Frank's hand.
Yeah, and I always like slowing down your opponent on Jace. Frank's deck is playing out of the graveyard, so just letting him have those loots. The drawing extra cards helps him a lot. The discarding cards helps him a lot. So I like setting that back.
Here's a swing with Prized Amalgam to put Jadine to 17. She does have to worry about things like Elder Deep Fiend happening this next turn.
Yeah, we're in that territory. The Amalgam plus a land puts him there.
Here's land 4. He can't recast Jace just yet. His graveyard has 1 card, but it's a good one. It's Kozilek's Return. He'll pass. Do we wait on the upkeep? Yes, we do. Here's Elder Deep Fiend emerging from Prized Amalgam. And this is a neat interaction. The Kozilek's Return trigger on the stack.
Yep, so Jadine has to decide, does she want to sacrifice her Selfless Spirit to give the Reflector Mage indestructible, or force Frank to use the Kozilek's Return for both creatures? Now, this is a board where you might just let it happen, because you're just losing a 2/3 and the 2/1.
And that's what she does. She loses both creatures. Because if she'd sacrificed the Spirit, Frank would actually leave the return in his graveyard.
Right, and then she'd just have a 2/3.
Oh, wow. No, there wasn't a Lumbering Falls. She just drew and passed. So no land drop for her. That's That's going to be real bad.
Yeah, real bad news for Jadine fans here, and she is just off green mana entirely.
Frank swings for 5, puts Jadine to 12. Now he is freed up to cast Jace again. Has a prized amalgam in the yard. He's close to the win here, and that win might just mean top 8.
Yeah, Jadine's at 12. Already has a 5/6.
Jace, no land for Frank either. Jadine draws. And big draw from Jadine. It's a copy of Canopy Vista. It's not only an untapped land, it's her 4th land, and it's her green mana. She has Collected Company in hand.
All right, this is where it starts. And she did force Frank to use that Kozilek's return.
All right, she set herself up for this. Here's main phase Company. 6 cards. Is it going to hit something good? We see a Spell Queller, a Nissa. That might just be it. Easy enough. She'll take the 2 creatures. Nissa gets her a Forest, Spell Queller. It's 2/3.
Not the best hit. That does line up her land drop for the next turn. So that will help her to cast more spells out of her hand.
Sure. And for all we know, there could be more Collected Companies in her hand.
Right. I imagine she wanted to find a Reflector Mage there to get that Jace bounced again.
Yeah, that would have been pretty nice. If Frank has something like discarding Haunted Dead to Jace, this board's pretty gross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, already has Amalgam in his graveyard. And Jadine at 12, and that Deep Fiend's attacks looks pretty free on this board. He's still at 18 life.
So we'll see where Frank goes. Looks like Collective Brutality. Well, that's pretty good here, actually. We'll see what all the modes he picks. 2 damage is actually even appealing right now.
Yeah, if he has an extra discard extra card he wants to discard, he could go for all 3 modes. He has the Nissa that he can kill. Likely you discard to try to hit a Collected Company out of JD's hand. Presumably she has another one.
If he goes for all 3 modes, that's cards numbers 2, 3, 4 in the graveyard. He actually gets to flip the Jace.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to do. He'll discard another Kozilek's Return, an Island, and then play the Brutality. So now 4 cards in the yard. It's kill Nissa, drain Jadine for 2, look at her hand. You see the Forest, another Nissa, an Advocate.
And a negate.
A negate, and a Tireless Tracker. So he gets a hit off that as well. So Jadine goes to 10. That's important. Nissa goes to the graveyard, and negate is going to follow it.
Jadine will be able to cast 2 creatures on the following turn, though. That's only going to be her 5th land. The Advocate's only going to be a 2/3, and this Deep Fiend's still going to look great on this board.
Jace now tapping. It's the 5th card in the yard for Frank, so it's going to turn into a Planeswalker.
Also not insignificant, Jadine was at 12. Now
Right.
she's at 10. 5/6 Elder Deep Fiend.
And Elder Deep Fiend swings on Jadine, goes to 5. Play a Jace played by Frank, and we go back. So now that Elder Deep Fiend is lethal.
Mm-hmm. And with that Jace on the table, theoretically, he could use another Deep Fiend to emerge that away and tap down any potential blockers for Jadine.
Tireless Tracker and land for Jadine. Clue. Gotta kill the Deep Fiend, but there's this Jace and another Jace in play. There's a lot of outs here for Frank. Will he close it out? Draws per turn, hits a land. Nothing just yet.
And Jadine did not cast the Sylvan Advocate. She's hanging back to crack the Clue. That way she can have 4 power in the tracker, 2 on the Queller, and double block the Deep Fiend that way. And then
Sure.
the following turn, hopefully, is casting a 4/5 Advocate.
But ultimate price, just some fair magic from Frank. It's a kill spell for Tireless Tracker, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Well, a little unfair magic because he also, well, never mind. You can't ultimate price the Spell Queller, so he can't Jace that back. So
He doesn't win right now, but this is a great play nonetheless. Tracker hits the bin.
I'm so used to good removal spells.
It's 2 mana. This is great. I mean, it's not Terminate.
Yeah, I think that Terminate and Lightning Bolt should be evergreen.
Oh, that's great. Let's just never let anyone play creatures.
Yeah, well, creatures are pretty boring.
I mean, I agree. I don't even play Terminate because it doesn't. What does that do? But Elder Deeping attacks, Spell Queller blocks. Jadine stays alive but loses her board. See if Frank wants to do anything with that Jace. Now he'll just go up to 7 with it. Maybe make an emblem someday. He'll pass.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But he will have the option to flash back the ultimate price on the following turn when Jadine plays that Advocate.
Well, that sounds pretty good too.
Yes.
Draw from Jadine. She got 1 card off the clue and another one for the turn. Both players know there's an Advocate in her hand, but that doesn't do much with the ultimate price in the yard. So she'll play Tireless Tracker. Play a land, get a clue. Gonna play Sylvan Advocate as a 4/5. Both players know though that this isn't gonna do much. Jadine's gonna have to chump her board away again if she even gets the option.
Yep.
A draw for Frank. Does it win it? We will see. Maybe not yet. He's going to give flashback to a card. I think we're just going for that ultimate price.
Hard to make a case for anything else here.
Collective Brutality. He's eyeing that one.
Oh, yeah. The Tireless Tracker only has 2 toughness, and Jadine only has 1 land up.
Yeah, let's do that. Ultimate price can be saved for a later date. That's the better one.
Yeah, and may as well discard a card to get a look at the hand again.
Wait. We don't even, there's not even another turn here. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. So this kills the tracker, and then he has that other Jace, which he can just activate, and then give the ultimate price flashback as well.
Right. Draw, discard, flip. 5 on the next Jace, ultimate price. Kill the last blocker. He sees her hand, and it's going to be Frank Skarren moving to 11-3 with the victory over Jadine Klomparens.
Had a rocky start to day 2, but he's able to recover. Picked up his second win on the day, and it looks like the one that'll clinch him top 8.
Yeah.